The other thing with the weapon that they have, the likelihood of them having DNA is very, very high. Let's just look at the Koberger case. They are able to use trace DNA to actually do a genealogy search. It takes a little bit of time, but this is with family members that didn't even put themselves into the genealogy system. And so I think they're coming at it from two angles. You're going to be coming at it from the technology of looking cell phone tracking data for this area. That's something that's going to stand out so they can rule out people that actually live in that area since you flew into the woods, possibly vehicle traffic as well as DNA traffic. And so what they're looking for is they're going to have it. They just don't have it quite yet.
Trey, we're coming up on another moment of silence at 9:37, and I wonder if you could take a moment to just talk about this moment that we are in nationally from a perspective that you always so wisely provide.
Yeah, Dana, I remember the aftermath of 9/11 and how the country came together, and we didn't see race, we didn't see gender, we didn't see political orthodoxy. And as we've had events since then, whether it's the shooting of Abby Giffords, whether it's the shooting of Stevie Scalise, the shooting of President Trump, those periods of unity have begun to shrink. And no, I mean, it hadn't been a couple of hours since Charlie Kirk was killed before we had like a zoo-like atmosphere on the floor of the House of Representatives, which is supposed to be the people's house. So I actually think the American people are more unified than those that we send to represent us. So the representatives need to really reflect the American people. 90% of the American people would never do what happened to Charlie Kirk, would never shoot Gabby Giffords. And by the way, a child was also killed when she was shot, would never shoot at Stevie Scalise. We got to do a better job of identifying and silencing and separating that 10% from the rest of us. But look, our memories are so short, Dana. I mean, they were long after 9/11. It was weeks and months of unity. And it hadn't been 24 hours before we had begun to politicize the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Forget about the politics. That's why I want you to look at the video. This was a husband and a father and a friend that was shot through the throat because of political beliefs. I mean, surely to God, this country can do better than that.
No doubt.
Trey, thank you. Robin Dreeke, thank you so much as we prepare for this next moment of silence.
We move away from New York City to the Pentagon. At 9:37 a.m., 30 seconds from now, American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon. Let's go there now.
For the tasks ahead. While our memory of the violence of September 11th is 24 years old, for many of us, the pain still lingers as we consider the heroic sacrifices made by many that day, and by many more in the years of war that resulted. For those who grieve, we pray in the sentiment of Abraham Lincoln that you, O Lord, would assuage the anguish of their bereavement and leave only the cherished memory of the loved and lost, and the solemn pride for those who have laid so costly a sacrifice upon the altar of freedom. For those of our day who have taken up the cause to secure our homeland, to wield the sword in righteousness to protect our neighbors, grant prudence to execute justice with honor, always mindful we are under your divine gaze. Grant the blessing of wisdom and insight for our leaders, that they may be guided to do your will. Grant humility throughout our land, acknowledging your goodness to us. And finally, we offer supplications for those who currently are deployed, underway, or on duty for our nation. Surround them with the protection of the angels and a joyful reunion with faithful loved ones. In your most holy name, amen. Please join me for a moment of silence for that minute of impact 24 years ago today.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Barbara Olson was on American Flight 77, and we knew her, and we worked with her. And she was a great American, married to the Solicitor General Ted Olson, who died just about a year ago, and they had a wonderful love affair with one another. And that plane was nearly empty, as were the other three on that day. And that was part of the strategy on behalf of the 19 hijackers, to get it on a flight that was flying across the country where they would have time to take out the pilots, to take out the flight attendants, to subdue the passengers, and then take control of that plane and take it where they wanted to go. In this case, the Pentagon.
Retired General Jack Keane joins us now. He was there at the Pentagon that day, and it's a sober day. We thank you for joining us again. Your recollections, your bravery, your heroism of that day is never lost on any of us. And we're 24 years into it. Next year will be the 25th anniversary, and time has gone quickly. How do you think about things now when you look back?
Well, first of all, I mean, it's like a wound that doesn't heal. And it was such a tragedy for America on that day. You know, the Al-Qaeda strategically were trying to attack our symbols of our economic prosperity, the World Trade Center, military power at the Pentagon and the Capitol, which the operation failed, our democracy itself. And we know from interrogating all of Al-Qaeda's top leaders that the intent was that bin Laden actually believed that succeeding at that operation, and it was tactically successful, that it would force the United States to turn inward, not outward, that we'd collapse into ourselves. He had people who were working for him that advised him to the contrary, that no, you don't understand America. America will likely respond and come for us. And he overruled them. He was basing on the fact that they took down our 2 embassies in Africa in '98, minimal response. They took down the USS Cole in 2000, no response. He thought, based on that, he could have his way. And it led to what? It led to the strategic failure of Al-Qaeda as a global organization. It's not that they don't have elements that are dangerous, but they're a mere shadow of their former selves. And it woke us. We stopped thinking as terrorism as a law enforcement problem. We took it for what it really is, something the Israelis always believed. It's an act of war. And we responded in kind and dealt with them rather handily, as we should. And George Bush said it, and others have said it since. You kill Americans, we're going to be in pursuit of you for as long as it takes. And we have proven that to the American people, that kind of determination.
No, I always pick up on one thing you say every year, General. You say this was the first battle of a new war, and you're exactly right about that. And that war went into Afghanistan, it went into Iraq. On this day, 24 years ago, you lost 85 what you call teammates from Army headquarters. I know how deeply this strikes you. I hear it in your voice, and I see it in your face every time you sit with us here in New York. And you came to New York later that week, maybe it was a Thursday or a Friday, and I recall you describing a story about going up, I think it was the West Side Highway, and you had hundreds of New Yorkers that were out there with American flags. And I think what that told you is that America, we're not dead, we'll come back from this. And I just wonder, 24 years later, that's a substantial period of time. It's 24 years. Where do you think we are in this war now, today?
Well, I think radical Islam is still out there and is still a threat. But we learned the valuable lesson from 9/11 that impacted our military and impacted U.S. policies that transcended presidents. And that is, you cannot permit these radical Islamic movements that have aspirations to hurt us strategically and tactically to have a sanctuary. Afghanistan was a sanctuary. We knew they had there. We knew they had training camps there. They knew that's where they could prepare and plan and rehearse operations. And we stopped that from happening. We don't chase down radical Islam all over the world. We only chase those who have aspirations to hurt us. That was Iraq and Syria. It was in Yemen and also in Eastern Africa. They all have aspirations outside the region to hurt us. So we focused our policy on that and deny them the kind of sanctuary they need to prosper as an organization and be successful like Al-Qaeda was, because we did not deny them that sanctuary. And we should have taken that sanctuary away after they dropped 2 of those embassies in Africa and also damaged the USS
August 5th, 1998, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and Nairobi, Kenya. And there were hundreds that were killed that day.
Exactly.
And they were mostly Africans. And that's who the Muslim extremists went after that day. And now you got Somalia, and you got Northern Africa, and you've got these hotspots that barely get headlines every day. But this movement, General, is alive and well.
It is alive, and we focus on only those who are going to hurt us. I mean, the movement is worldwide. Now, if people want intelligence from us, or maybe some assistance in training in another movement that doesn't have aspirations, that's trying to hurt their government and their people, we likely assist in some of that. But where our focus is, and we're going to use military action, is against those who are trying to hurt us. And as such, we have kept that down. There has not been a foreign terrorist attack in this country. And that's because of the vigilance that we have showed through many presidents, whether they're Democrats or Republicans. They've all agreed on that same policy. We got to stay focused on those who are trying to hurt us. We learned that lesson, and it's been invaluable to us in protecting the American people. I'll tell you one more point. When our guys went to Afghanistan just weeks after 9/11, and we took down the Taliban very quickly, I'll never forget talking to the Special Forces soldiers who did it, and also the pilots who flew them, and in dealing with the Northern Alliance. We had spent a decade helping other people in Panama, in Desert Storm, liberating Kuwait, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Somalia, Haiti. You reported on all of this. In Afghanistan, it was different. The soldiers just willingly confronted me and said, "Sir, this is about the American people. This is about taking care of our people." They always had high morale conducting operations, but their determination and their resolve and their commitment was really something special.
Speaking of that, we're watching the new Secretary of War. This is Pete Hegseth, who is the first Secretary of War to have fought in these conflicts after 9/11. Let's listen in for a moment.
A college junior with a fresh set of Army fatigues in my dorm room closet, having just joined Army ROTC. Like too many Americans, I was naive to the threats brewing abroad and infiltrating our shores. But from that day forward, I felt an unshakable call to action, a duty to defend our sacred homeland with everything I had. Like all of you, 9/11 was the ultimate validator to serve. But I was not alone. An entire generation of warriors stepped forward, willing to pay the ultimate price to exact retribution and secure our country. Forged in the crucibles of Afghanistan and Iraq, we stood watch in distant lands on dangerous missions, often, in retrospect, nebulous missions, all to secure our people and so we could live in peace. War is an enduring aspect of the human condition, a tool that, when wielded wisely, ruthlessly punishes enemies intent on terrorizing or subjugating our nation. War must not become a mere tool for global social work, eager to risk American blood and treasure for utopian fever dreams. We should hit hard, wreak vengeance, and return home. For 2 decades, our warriors fought with valor every day, far from home, even though sometimes their leaders gave them nation-building missions and half-baked exits. Thankfully today, we have an American military that President Trump has now rebuilt twice. Yet despite the weight of history, the Department of War will always honor the service of our warriors and all they left behind, never straying from the warrior ethos they and those on 9/11 embodied and deserve. We best honor their memory and the memory of 9/11 by learning the correct lessons of that day and the decades of courage that followed. Full hearts, clear eyes. To every member of our War Department, past and present, you are the best, the real elite, the real 1% of this nation. Standing here today, we honor those 184 rings of the bell, souls lost at the Pentagon and on Flight 77. Even as first responders were grossly outnumbered by the wounded, many ran toward the chaos, cared for the injured, and comforted the dying. It was bedlam. But in that moment, American heroism was laid bare. That purpose, that spirit lives on in uniform today. Despite such tragedies, our republic endured. It endured that day. It endured on Flight 93, charging that cockpit, and at the Pentagon. It endured over those Islamists. It endured over 2 decades of war, and it endured stronger, wiser, and tougher, forged by the blood and courage of patriots. Our job now is to ensure that future generations inherit a strong and vigilant America. 9/11 is vivid for me and all of you, but it will soon live only in the history books for our youngest. We must teach our children that the price of freedom we love is eternal vigilance. Instill in them the importance of upholding America's Constitution, holding tight to our freedom and our faith, and relentlessly pursuing our enemies. Prepare them to defend this nation by the ballot, the wallet, and when necessary, the cloth of our country, because the world remains a viper's nest. It requires us. As I speak, hostile elements plot to curb our power and slaughter our people in our homeland, in our hemisphere, and halfway around the globe. Not everyone needs to wear a uniform, but some of us do. That is our profession and our promise to this nation. In closing, a reading from Scripture, Romans chapter 5, verses 3 through 4. We rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, and character produces hope. On this day, 24 years ago, we suffered. In the years since, we have endured. Our service and sacrifice have forged our character, and today we stand in hope for the future of our great nation. The young soldiers who take the oath give me hope. The young cops who wear the badge give me hope. The young firefighters who answer the call give me hope. The young agents who patrol our border give me hope. The life, example, and even death of Christ follower and American patriot Charlie Kirk give me hope. Sheer courage, no matter the arena. Charlie, we love you. We know that you have heard the Lord's words. Well done, good and faithful servant. Full heart, clear eyes. Like those on 9/11, he will never be forgotten. So I thank God for all of you and all of our fighters from that day to today and beyond. May God bless our warriors as they ruthlessly seek our enemies on behalf of the fellow citizens they love. We owe you and all of those who witnessed 9/11 nothing less. It is now my great honor to introduce to you our Commander-in-Chief, President Donald J. Trump.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. Before we begin, let me express the horror and grief so many Americans at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk have felt. Charlie was a giant of his generation, a champion of liberty, and an inspiration to millions and millions of people. Our prayers are with his wonderful wife, Eric, and his beautiful children. Fantastic people they are. We miss him greatly, yet I have no doubt that Charlie's voice and the courage he put into the hearts of countless people, especially young people, will live on. I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The date of the ceremony will be announced, and I can only guarantee you one thing, that we will have a very big crowd. Very, very big. Thank you, my fellow Americans. 84 years ago this morning, the banks of the Potomac were filled with the clamor of construction workers who broke ground on the building now known as the Pentagon on September 11th, 1941. At the time, it was the biggest building ever built. From that moment forward, this structure stood as a monument to American strength, power, and cherished American freedom. Exactly 6 decades later, on September 11th, 2001, those same walls, built with the sweat and muscle, blood of our parents and grandparents, were scarred by flame and shaken by terror as our country came face to face with pure evil. On that fateful day, savage monsters attacked the very symbols of our civilization. Yet here in Virginia and in New York and in the skies over Pennsylvania, Americans did not hesitate. They stood on their feet and they showed the world that we will never yield, we will never bend, we will never give up, and our great American flag will never, ever fail. That terrible morning 24 years ago, time itself stood still. The laughter of school children fell silent. The rush of our traffic came to an absolute halt. And for 2,977 innocent souls and their families, the entire world came crashing down so suddenly. In the quarter of a century since those acts of mass murder, 9/11 family members have felt the weight of missed birthdays and empty bedrooms, journals left unfinished, and dreams left unfulfilled. To every member that still feels a void every day of your lives, the First Lady and I unite with you in sorrow. And today, as one nation, we renew our sacred vow that we will never forget September 11th, 2001. Amid the horror of that morning, some used cell phones and office lines to whisper their final words to those who mattered most. They whispered indeed. At 8:59 a.m. aboard United Flight 175, Brian Sweeney called his wife, Julie. He told her, "Do good, go have good times. I totally love you. I'll see you again. I'll meet you up there." 4 minutes later, his plane hit the south tower of the World Trade Center. At 9:12 a.m. aboard American Airlines Flight 77, Renee May called her mom. Just the day before, Renee had learned that she was 7 weeks pregnant, but she never got the chance to share the news. She simply said, "I love you, Mom." 25 minutes later, Renee's plane struck the Pentagon. So violent, a strike it was. At 9:53 a.m. aboard United Flight 93, Elizabeth Waineo called her stepmom. They're getting ready to break into the cockpit. What do I do? I love you so much. They're going to break in. 10 minutes later, Flight 93 ended in the hallowed field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. At 10:25 a.m., Tom McGinnis was trapped on the 92nd floor of the North Tower when he told his wonderful wife, Elena, on the phone, "There are people jumping from the floors above us. If we get out of here, it'll be a total miracle. I love you, darling. Take care of Caitlin." beautiful daughter. 3 minutes later, the tower fell. Out of the ash, we witnessed the awesome power of that incredible love. We've seen it rise again. Out of the wreckage, we watched unbelievable courage suddenly take form. And out of the darkness, we saw the timeless truth of American character shine for the world to see. In America, we take blows, but we never buckle. We bleed, but we do not bow. And we defy the fear, endure the flames, and emerge from the crucible of every hardship stronger, prouder, and greater than ever before. Last year, we were a dead country. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. In New York, there were heroes like Chuck Costello, a 46-year-old elevator mechanic, and a member of the Knights of Columbus. He selflessly ran into the World Trade Center to free people trapped in the elevators. His body was not found until the following January, deep under the debris. While going through his belongings, Chuck's widow, Mary, a phenomenal woman, discovered a personal prayer written in his own words, "Help me to light the way for those in the dark, and when I enter the darkness, let me not panic, but patiently wait to remember the light." Beautiful words. When the time came, Chuck ran boldly into the darkness of hell on earth, and now he shines in the light of heaven above. We remember him this morning. That day we learned that the American heroic spirit was all around us. We saw it in the police officers, the great firefighters, the service members here at the Pentagon, and in the hearts of every American who answered history's call. One such hero was Army Sergeant First Class Steve Workman, who was on the edge of the impact zone when this incredible Pentagon was hit. He was right there. After leading hundreds of people to escape routes, Steve turned back and plunged into the inferno itself. Pushing through the debris, he came upon a severely burned Navy lieutenant, the only survivor from the Navy Command Center. Only one. The wounded lieutenant looked into Steve's soul and said, "Don't let me die." Steve replied, "I won't. I've got you. Just hang on." He wheeled the lieutenant out of the wreckage on the back of a maintenance cart before getting in the ambulance and taking him to Walter Reed Hospital. That man Steve saved, Lieutenant Kevin Schaefer, went on to join the elite team of CIA operatives who located Osama bin Laden. Steve, you're an American hero. We appreciate it. We appreciate what you've gone through. Please stand. Please stand. Where are you? Oh, good-looking man. You're a good-looking guy. You remember that day. You remember that day. Good. Thank you very much, Steve. That was something. That was something. In the years that followed, America's warriors avenged our fallen and sent an unmistakable message to every enemy around the world. If you attack the United States of America, we will hunt you down and we will find you. We'll go all over this sometimes magnificent earth. We will crush you without mercy and we will triumph without question. That's why we named the former Department of Defense the Department of War. It will be different. We won the First World War. We won the Second World War. We won everything before that and in between. And then we decided to change the name. Well, now we have it back to where we all want it. Everybody wanted it. Everybody is so happy to have it back. You will fail and America will win, win, win. The enemy will always fail. 24 years have passed since that Tuesday morning in September, and an entire generation of Americans have come of age in a totally different world. While they cannot remember the agony of that day, they are carrying on the legacy of those who lost. Around 8:30 a.m. on the morning of the attacks, Army Lieutenant Colonel Kip Taylor sent an email to his friends and family describing the joys of fatherhood and his excitement for the upcoming birth of his unborn son. He wrote, "After you have kids, there are days that you just get going and you say, 'Hi, honey, I'm home.' What we do until that moment pales in comparison, but just that little statement, 'Hi, honey,' so American, so beautiful." But that's really the point of it all, isn't it? An hour after he sent that email, Flight 77 flew into Colonel Taylor's Pentagon office and claimed the life of a very proud father and true patriot. 6 weeks later, on October 25th, 2001, Colonel Taylor's son, Luke, was born. Luke then tragically lost his mom to cancer when he was just 2 years old, leaving him to be raised by his father's brother. As a young boy, Luke asked his uncle about the folded flag on the bookshelf, and when he learned about his dad's decades of devotion to the Army and the horrors of September 11th, that's when he learned. Luke carried that memory with him and joined the ROTC as a college freshman. He graduated just last year, and I'm pleased to say he is with us today as a second lieutenant and doing very well. He's rising quickly in the infantry, preparing for Army Ranger School. The spitting image of his dad, they say. Luke says that every time he puts on a uniform, he feels connected to his father and to our country. But it was a father he never knew. Luke, your parents are together in heaven, and they could not be prouder of the man that they have produced. They produced you. Those two great people produced you. Luke, please stand. Thank you, Luke. You look good, Luke. You look good. They're looking down on you. They're very proud. This morning, we recall the light of America's best and bravest and the love that they showed in their final moments. In their memory, we make a solemn pledge and a noble promise. We will honor always our great heroes, and you are our heroes. There's a group of people that don't want to talk about our heroes, but we will always talk about our heroes, and that's the way our country is, and that's the way the people feel. We will defend the nation they served, the values they upheld, and the freedom for which they died. We will support our troops, we will protect our families, and we will preserve the American way of life for every future generation. We will build taller, grow stronger, fight harder, and soar higher. And together we will go forward as one people with one heart, one fate, one flag, and one glorious destiny under Almighty God. May God bless the memories of those who died and the heroes who fought and the soldiers who still stand watch. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Some powerful words from what is now the Department of War at the U.S. Pentagon there. The numbers, Dana, continue to astound me. 2,977 people dead on 9/11 from 90 different countries, which 184 were at the Pentagon that day.
And the names of the dead are still being read down near Ground Zero, where a beautiful memorial was built. In fact, I got to watch something today. It was a video of these two men, and their job is to clean the fountain every single night.
What an honor.
And they work from midnight to 8 a.m. every single day doing that. And it was a beautiful reminder of how certainly we never forget, and we take care of these memorials and monuments to that horrible day.
At 9:59 here in New York, we observed a moment of silence. That was the fall of the South Tower. Remember, the North Tower was hit first, but the South Tower fell first. And so we're still, and then we had the moment of silence in Shanksville, Pennsylvania at 10:03 a.m., which really, Dana, was like, Shanksville was the first counterattack in the new war.
To this day, anytime I think about